Right, good evening, everybody. It's 5:30. Welcome to this evening's executive meeting. Before we start the meeting, a little housekeeping for the evening. Please can I remind all attendees of the following. Please keep your mobile phones be kept on silent or turned off during the meeting where possible. There are no fire alarms planned, so in the event of a fire, please follow the Guildhall staff to the nearest evacuation point at either the front or the back of the building. A reminder of how I intend to proceed this evening. Officers will introduce the report, and I will invite questions and comments from executive members. After the executive members have spoken, any group leaders who have indicated that they wish to speak will be invited to the table. Please can I ask, we will then confirm the recommendations from the report and move to the vote. Please can I ask group leaders to keep any questions relevant to the report and that your contributions are aimed to influence the executive in their decision making. I request that contributions be relevant to the recommendations before the executive. Questions not relevant to the recommendations before the executive will not be answered at the meeting and should be emailed to the relevant officer to be answered following the meeting. I ask that members not repeat questions which have already been asked or respond to other committees or for questions waiting for an answer. Finally, can I remind members that if they leave the meeting during the consideration of any item, they'll be unable to take part in the vote on their return. Please feel free to request a comfort break if needed so we can adjourn at an appropriate time. Thank you. So moving to the agenda proper, I don't think we've got any apologies. We've got a full house. Thank you. We've got the minutes of the 17th of March of this year. If you all agree, I'll sign that as a true record. I need a second of why.
No, it's that all members are happy that they're a correct record.
I should know that by now, shouldn't I? So I'll sign those as a true record. Item 3 is declarations of interest. If you've got any declarations of interest, please advise us before the item is discussed. There are no part 2 items, so the press and public are not excluded. There are no public questions. Item 6, matters referred by scrutiny committees. There are none. And so we go straight into item 7, which is the City Centre Strategy 2026 to 2031 public consultation. This is a resolved matter, which is before us, and I'm going to ask the Director of the place, Ian Collison, to introduce the report. Ian.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm going to begin just by talking generally about both strategies and say why it's important that we bring them forward together for you this evening. I should also say that both reports have been presented seeking approval from the Exeter to undertake public consultation. However, the documents themselves are not being published today. That's because of the rules that govern pre-election period. Both strategies have been informed by extensive engagement and consultation already, and that's with key stakeholders in the community. So we'll talk a bit more about that for each strategy when we get there. They've also both been underpinned by extensive research and evidence gathering to support what's in the documents. Each document is a similar format, so there's a vision and a series of what we're calling key themes, and they're backed up by strategic actions, so they follow the same sort of format and structure. The next step will be to formally publish the documents for consultation, and then later on, hopefully in September, bring them back to executive and then full council for adoption. It's also worth noting that each strategy will frame more detailed action plans that we'll be working on with our stakeholders and with our key partners. So they're not part of the consultation, but they will be brought forward and developed. And the important point there is that we want to work with our stakeholders and partners so that they own those action plans. But obviously we're taking that leadership role to sort of bring them forward to begin with. The other thing worth pointing out is, again, both strategies will be working very closely with the Exeter partnership. And the partnership form two theme groups that will help guide the delivery of the action plans once they're formulated. And again, I'll speak more about that in a bit. I think the final thing worth noting, again, for both strategies, they will help us prepare for local government reorganisation. So what you find in lots of places where there are already unitary authorities, they have these kinds of documents already. So I feel as though this is something that we're doing now in readiness for whatever unitary authority comes next that covers the city of Exeter. So we'll start with the city centre strategy. Whilst I said at the beginning that we're not sharing the actual document, this is just a sneak preview of the front cover. So it's a mock-up of the front cover. It could change, but that's kind of what it looks like at the moment, just to give you a flavour. And the key thing I wanted to point out on that slide is the title. So we're saying it's Exeter, our city centre. So there's an element there of ownership that the council wants to bring forward this new strategy and show, you know, what the importance is for our city centre. It's come from quite a long period of gestation. So the work began before the pandemic, but was paused. Of course, since then, the world has changed, particularly the economy. And so we felt it was ready to recast the strategy in a different way, looking ahead, looking at some of the challenges that high streets in particular are facing, and for this to be shaping our investment in the city centre and the placemaking of that for future and for future resilience. So I mentioned the engagement. So we undertook quite a lot of engagement facilitated by a consultancy team, LDA Design, during 2024. So there's a series of workshops. We engaged with local businesses, local community groups to begin with. And then later on in the year, we engaged with members both from Exeter City Council and Devon County Council. And these are some of the questions that we were posing during those workshops to try and stimulate discussion and also tease out some of the issues and challenges, but also the opportunities that we have within our city centre. So I won't read out the questions verbatim. You'll also see these are some of the things that we took from all of those meetings. So these are just some quotes that people gave. They're not attributable, of course, but this gives you a sense of some of the sentiments really that came out of those workshops and what's important for businesses and councillors. Another thing to highlight, this works also for the culture strategy. Of course, we did a full resident survey last year, and there were some specific questions asked about the city centre and also about culture. So you'll see this graphic in both reports. It is self-explanatory, I think, but it's just worth noting the importance that I think people attach to both culture and the city centre generally. And of course, I think it also highlights that there is a relationship there. That's another reason for bringing forward the strategies together. They both speak to each other. So if we're talking about the city centre, then having culture and the opportunity to create things and have entertainment in the city centre does add to its vibrancy and its attraction. So there is an overlap and that's picked out there in that survey. Like any strategy that's spatial, you need a boundary. Now, this boundary is what I would call a soft boundary. So this is not a planning document, so it's not a red line that depicts a particular development. It's just to sort of show very broadly what we consider to be our city centre. So it's very much rooted in history. So even today, what's left of the Roman city wall, which is about, I always love this statistic, it's about 90% of the Roman wall still exists that you can see above ground. That contains pretty much what is the city centre, even today. And there are these 4 key gateways as well that you can enter into and come out of the city centre. They still exist. So the map kind of depicts that in a pictorial way. But it also captures some of our really important ingredients and assets that we have in the city centre. So the lovely, beautiful parks that we've got, and also some of the historic buildings that you can see, that are obvious to anybody walking through day to day. It's also important that the city centre, we understand how people move around. So again, the key routes in and out, and the connections with other places. So this map shows a connection with the quay, for example, down there. So I mentioned that both strategies have a vision. So this is the full vision that's currently in the document, and it's contained in the report for you as well. I'm not going to read out the vision, but you can see what I've done is highlight some of the key words that depicts what we want our city centres to be going forward. And these are the things that have come out of the engagement as well. So they match across. So a lot of the comments, a lot of the ideas and thoughts that people have had going forward. So it's kind of worded in a way that hopefully is non-technical. Hopefully there's no jargon in there. It's all clear, it's all understandable, but most importantly, it's ambitious and it's looking to the future. And again, I mentioned already, so we've got themes that structure the strategy. This one's got 6 themes, and again, these are the things that have come out of the engagement and consultation. These are things that really matter to our businesses, to our local people that visit the city, people that study here and live here. So these things, and they're fairly self-evident, I think, and it's what we're going to build into a full action plan and a full activity plan to ensure that we can deliver on these themes. So next steps. So tonight we're reporting, seeking your approval to undertake that round of public consultation. That will last for 6 weeks. Of course, it has to happen following local elections. So that's a slight typo there. It should say 18th of May. Apologies for that. And it'll go on for 6 weeks. We'll then come back in September, having undertaken that consultation, and report back the outcome of that, and see whether that requires any changes to the strategy, and then we'll look to adopt it at full council. Alongside all of that work, and I've mentioned it a couple of times already, but it's worth mentioning again that we'll be doing this action planning. So we'll be developing an action plan that will have key outcomes, key outputs, responsibilities. We'll try and make it into an investment plan, so we'll know how much these things cost, and what we need to do with our partners to make that a reality. So we know that as a council, we can't do all of these things, but we can do lots of things through our services. So this is something, the action plan will also be embedded in all the service plans that we bring forward for all of our services across the council. It becomes a genuine corporate activity. And again, that's another really important reason for doing this now. So we can gear up for that next stage of local government. Thank you. Any questions? Happy to answer.
Thank you, Ian. Just one thing you can clear up before we start the discussion. You say that because of the pre-election period, the report can't be published at this moment. So I think this is the answer here, but I'll let you tell me. So why are we dealing with it now then?
So we need your, first of all, any consultation needs the exec approval to undertake that. The pre-election will say you mustn't start a consultation during the pre-election period, but we want to sort of be ready as soon as the election period is able to go. This has been, as I mentioned earlier, this has been looked at for a number of years. A lot of work has been done, certainly over the last year or so, to get it to this stage. And we want to make sure that we've got enough time to get it adopted, and then begin that action planning in good time before the big change.
Thank you. I thought that was it, but I thought let's draw it out now because somebody may mention it. So, members of the executive, I'll go around the table. Councillor Williams and Councillor Patrick.
It's just a question of clarification. On that slide, we've got the 6-week public consultation is week commencing the 11th of May, but in the papers, it's 18th of May.
Yeah, and it's a typo.
Oh,
and it'll go until
sorry,
the
I didn't catch that. Thank you.
5th of August, I think. So.
Okay, I'll let you come back in a minute if you want. Councillor Patrick.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Ian, for that presentation. Just a quick note on the public consultation, then going into adoption. Obviously, if the consultation does bring out any sort of, I don't know, significant comments, concerns, is there going to be time for a revision before the adoption process?
That's a good point. Anybody else? Councillor Vizard.
Thank you. Thanks for the report, Ian. Just a question about the consultation itself. As it's quite a short timeline, I assume that the consultation, whatever that looks like, is ready to go pretty much. So are you able to indicate a little bit about what that consultation will look like, and would the questions or the format be given, will the particular portfolio holder be given sight of that before it's released? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before I go anywhere, because there's a few questions there, I think we'd get to deal with those, and I'll come back to the members again in a moment. Ian, can you answer those couple?
Thank you, Chair. So there will be sufficient time to bring all the results of the consultation together and analyse them and assess them and see whether we need to make changes to the actual document itself. What I would say as well is that we've written, the document's been written in a kind of way that is sort of future-proofs, because it very much draws upon what we've heard during all of that engagement. So hopefully there'll be no surprises when we get the feedback. But there is certainly time to make any amendments, and of course we'll also report on the consultation itself. So there'll be a full consultation report that comes with the final strategy, and it'll map across. So you said, we responded, type of chronology. Thank you, Councillor Vizard, for your question. I should have said that the consultation will be an online survey. We're developing the questions at the moment. They won't be that different from the questions that were posed during the workshops in 2024. There'll be some slight differences because we've learned some things as part of that engagement. So I'm working, alongside officers and Councillor Wright to get those questions ready and built into our platform, our engagement platform, which we'll be using for the survey.
Okay, thank you. I'll come on then. Councillor Wright, you wanted to come in.
Yeah, happy to say a question on timescales again. Obviously, the portfolio holders for this strategy and the cultural strategy have seen the final draft. But as you know, I have a couple of questions going forward with that. How far into it can we do that? Due to we're not restricted now as portfolio holders, are we, for having any more input before this goes out to consultation before the elections?
So the document that we have at the moment is still effectively a draft. We've got complete editorial control over it. And we are still making a few adjustments still. So that couldn't cover that. That was a lot that could change. And there's always things that we want to just revisit. There comes a point where you kind of have to say, okay, we've made it as good as we can, but there's always, there's still plenty of scope for making changes. And then once it's ready, we'll load it onto the platform, and then that'll be the design fix then. And we won't change it again until after the
Consultation. Sorry.
Yeah, because obviously I'm not talking about rewriting the whole content. That's the whole point of putting it out to consultation to see what members of the public and residents want to say and do. But just any sort of tweaks, we've still got scope to do that beforehand.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Wood.
Thank you. So just checking my understanding of what's just been said. What we're actually, recommendations that we are going to be voting on in due course is about the framework and timescale for the consultation. And what we're consulting on currently is subject to pre-election restrictions. But the portfolio holders concerned will be involved in fine-tuning it before it actually emerges. So that's what I'm hearing anyway.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you. It's just a bit more detail on the consultation. You said it's going to be online. So how do we reach those harder to reach groups? Yeah, that's the question.
Okay, if you can deal with that, I think we've come to that then. If you can deal with that one, because that will be ours.
So we'll be doing lots of publicity, first of all, to make sure there's many businesses, local people, stakeholders get the link so they can enter into the online survey. We'll also be making hard copies available, placed in areas as well. What we're not doing sort of direct engagement, so we're not holding more workshops or doing sort of events or exhibitions. We won't do. We feel as though we've done that part of the engagement already, so we won't be repeating that. But obviously, people need assistance. The consultation platform and our consultation charter allows us to do that. Provide people with assistance so they can access either the survey or the document. There'll be also an opportunity to fill in, for people to write in. And in fact, I would encourage that. So we'll be trying to encourage our partners when to use their networks, but also to come to us with their own views, because we'll receive that as well. We'll gather all of that.
Okay, thank you. And just to say, you spoke about the mock-up of that one there. It's currently red, but that colour could change, or it could be a combination of colours after May 7th. So I'll now come over to if any of the opposition leaders want to speak, and Councillor Mitchell, then Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, thank you, Chair. As I say, we're talking a little bit of an unknown, so apologise if these questions seem relatively easy to answer. In regard to the actual document when it comes out, does it incorporate anything regarding physical redevelopment within the city centre? Because for some years we've had City Vision, City Point documents, etc., and I just wondered to what extent they're incorporated, because I think there's a difference between a little bit of landscaping and potential future redevelopment across large areas. How does this document sit with the local planners under examination at the moment? Has there any implications for that? Thirdly, in relation to highways, have we had formal report from the County Council on any views they have, and will they be incorporated? In regard to public transport, since April, that has been transferred to the combined authority, so therefore have they had an opportunity to have input as the combined authority now responsible for public transport? And lastly, once this document is approved, clearly we are in an interim stage towards a new unitary authority. What will be the legal status of this document once approved by Exeter City Council going forward to any new unitary authority? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be super quick. The director is absolutely right that the word has changed, and I'm pleased to see our council officers' plans to include our city residents in our forward planning, but I have a quick request of officers, if I may, relating to page 24 in the packs that we have. Just looking at the first paragraph of race, this protected characteristic may not engage with the online public consultation. That paragraph there, my simple request is, would you please consider adding that paragraph into the boxes for gender reassignment and sexual orientation, please, because these two demographics will also struggle to engage with this, particularly with the global changes and how terrified those people are feeling right now. Not because of Exeter, but because of what's going on in the world. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Is any other leader? No? Okay. I think if you want to take the last one first, because I think that's the easiest one to sort out, and then there's a couple of questions there. Ian, if you could deal with them.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes, for highlighting that. We will absolutely update the QIA and include that. Thank you.
I'm assuming it's not a planners document, nor highways, or the CCA, and the legal status is other than this is a consultation document, but you may want to confirm that for Councillor Mitchell. That's how the obvious reading of it is to me.
That is absolutely correct and far more succinct than I would have said. So just to add into that, so it doesn't propose development, it's not a land use plan, but it does link to the Exeter plan and it links to other strategies very much rooted in the corporate plan. But it's written really as a call to arms. It's not, doesn't have any legal status in that sense. It doesn't require anything really of anyone. This is about collaboration. This is about bringing our partners and our stakeholders together to create actions and investment opportunities. But it doesn't have any of that kind of legal status that a transport plan would or a local plan has, etc.
Thank you, Ian, and I would be highly delighted if the County Council and indeed the CCA took a little bit of interest in what went on in Exeter in any event. So there are the recommendations there. So I'm going to move them from the chair. Can I have a seconder, please? Okay, all those in favour of the recommendations?
That's unanimous, Chair. That has been carried.
Thank you very much indeed. So we'll move on to item 8 now, which is the Exeter Cultural Strategy 26-31. And whereas we've dealt with a little bit of it, but we've got 2 recommendations here. Over to you again, Ian.
Thank you, Chair. So following the same format as the city centre strategy, this is a mock-up of what the front cover could look like, just to give you a flavour of that. And again, so the background of this is, again, very similar to the city centre. So we engaged a team of consultants to help us develop the strategy. Their main task was to undertake the engagement exercise. So we've carried out a series of tasks around engagement, which I'll explain in a moment. They've also undertaken quite detailed research, a bit different to the city centre strategy because, ironically, there's a huge volume of work that's been done on culture in Exeter over the years. A lot of documents, a lot of people are interested in culture, and so they've assembled all of that knowledge and insight, and they've produced a background document which we'll be able to share when we go out to consultation. It's almost a resource in itself. It's like a summary of everything that's culture in Exeter. So they did all of that work as well, and then they documented and summarised the engagement response that we did over a 5-month period. So their work is now completed, and they've handed over the document back to us, and we've been editing it and working with Councillor Foe in this case to develop that document into the format that you'll see on the 18th of May. I've mentioned that already, so that's the baseline report that I talked about, and as I say, the engagement. It's worth noting that we engage with over 600 residents, individual artists and cultural organisations over that 6-month period. That's quite a lot of activity, and the response was fantastic. People were very engaged with this, and very interested. We came out with lots of views that we've heard. So that's a bit more of a breakdown of the engagement. You can see from this that this was the main part of that consultation, the consultant's brief, so that we really spent a lot of time on that. They're the stages that we undertook. It's worth noting as well that when we got to stage 2, that was going to be the conclusion of the engagement. We had what we call a summit at Exeter College, where we brought lots of stakeholders together and organisations, and had some presentations and some really rich discussion. What came out of that summit was that there were still some issues and some concerns, and so I felt that it was worth extending that period of consultation a bit more, just to have some more focused discussions around those issues. So that's what we did. So we had 3 further, I think there were 3 further workshops and some in-person engagement as well, just to tease out some of those issues, so that we're absolutely confident that, having undertaken all of that work, we had captured pretty much everything that people thought was important to feed into the strategy. So we've done all of that now, and the document that you'll see reflects all of that. It's absolutely, we've set out what we've heard, but in a very, hopefully, in a very concise, non-technical way. And then we're now at stage 4, so if you're able to approve the recommendation this evening, again, exactly like the city centre strategy, we'll go out on that online engagement piece from the 18th of May. So again, a bit of a sneak preview of the vision itself. So that's the vision statement. So I'll read it out because it is short and snappy and hopefully memorable. Exeter will be a place where everyone feels more creative confidence, included and connected to culture, environment, heritage, and exploring new ideas. So we did come up with a strapline for the strategy as well. That will also be on the front cover, and it will also be on every page. And we're calling it a city of creative. So Exeter is a city of creative confidence, because we've got that ambition, and that's clearly depicted in the strategy. And then it's having the confidence to deliver that ambition together as a council, as a sector, working collaboratively. So that's kind of the underlying message in this work. So again, we've got the themes, so there's only 4 this time. These probably need a little bit more explanation than perhaps in the city centre strategy. So the first one is how we think and act. So this is really about how we can take forward a strategy and lead on that, both as a council but also working collaboratively with the sector. So the idea that sits behind this is that we want to create some kind of mechanism for enabling all of the sectors to come together and work together to deliver the strategy, devise an action plan and deliver that. So that's really what that's about. And overarching that is that ambition, to keep the ambition alive about being a city of culture. So that ambition comes from the Vision 2040. It's in the corporate plan, and it's something that we want to keep alive as an ambition to be a city of culture. Notwithstanding that we made a bid for the UK City of Culture, so that was unsuccessful, but this strategy was already being worked upon, and so we feel as though keep that ambition alive, be a city of culture, and have the leadership and the drive to deliver that. The second one, connecting the ecosystem. So this is really about exploring the tremendous potential that there is in Exeter for creating and making things. So it's about grassroots, about ensuring that grassroots, creative people and industries and individuals and groups have got the opportunity to really engage in culture and create and make culture something that's meaningful. And then that follows on into the third theme, which is about unlocking accessibility and well-being. This is I think the uniqueness of this strategy. It's not something you see often in other cultural strategies. This is where we're saying is for all that creative talent, we want to make sure that that becomes meaningful and people can access it in all of our communities and it becomes real for them. And then the fourth theme is about encouraging innovation where environment meets culture. So this is building on our strengths as a city that we already have. So we know about the work, for example, that the university does, but also the college in terms of climate science and creative industries. We know about the arts and literature, so we are a UNESCO City of Literature, for example. Tremendous rich heritage, 2,000 years worth of heritage. And then generally around sustainability in our environment, world-class environment within the city, but also in the surrounding Devon countryside. So bringing all of that together and then making that links to innovation and learning is what that theme is about as well. So finally, next steps again, this has got the correct date, 18th of May, running to the 18th of August. For the consult. Sorry, 18th of May for consultation, and then we'll bring back the results of that again at the same time in August for executive, and then in September for full adoption. Again, very similar to the city centre, so we'll be working alongside the Exeter Partnership and the theme group that's been created for this work to develop and implement the action plan, and harnessing the group that's already been created through the Exeter Partnership. We're calling it Connected Culture. In fact, I met that group yesterday just to kind of further upon some of this stuff, so they're geared for this, and there was genuine support to do this. And in that way, what we hope is that it's probably particularly important in culture that the sector feels like it owns a strategy. That culture is quite a diverse sector, not just in Exeter, in the country. So it's really important we're trying to bring that together and have a voice, have a single, strong, loud voice for culture, so we can harness the investment potential and the funding that we're seeking to deliver the things that we want to deliver in the action plan. So thank you for that. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Ian. So I'll open it up to members of the executive. We've got any questions? Councillor Bizot.
Thanks again, Ian. A cultural strategy is extremely welcome, so thank you. And I particularly welcome some of the excellent themes and ambitions, not least bringing together environment and culture, which is absolutely right. Quick question on the EQIA on page 36, which talks about the need to reach, it says we are also aware there are a significant number of residents who don't think culture is for them. This will be addressed through the strategy. And the report talks about the need for accessibility to culture, which is again absolutely right. How will the consultation, which is not demographically targeted, as I understand it, it's going to be online, there'll be paper copies, but it's not, unlike the resident survey, is not targeted. How will it reach those people so that not only are they part of the ultimate strategy, but part of the consultation to get there as well? Is there a way we can look at that and make sure that the feedback is broad as possible? Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Nick. Both of these consultations are really important and are going to be quite fundamental in shaping how we move forward on what are actually kind of parallel subjects, with some overlap, especially around the assets that we have within the sector, which are both part of the city centre and part of culture. So these are two distinct consultations landing at the same time, trying to engage some of the same groups, some of the same individuals, but some different. I'm just wondering have you thought about how you're going to present that so they both get answered? Because if you sit through both sittings, you might get a little bit consultation happy. So yeah, just how are you thinking that you can run the two together and engage as many people as you can?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Ian. Just a question on the theme group that would be helping to deliver the action plan that would come out of this. So we're dealing in abstract at the moment. But who sits on that? You said they've met already, so who sits on that group and how have they been convened, chosen or selected?
Councillor Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Very interesting presentation and paper. I've just got one observation, a personal comment to make on theme 2, which is in 10.9.2. I really struggled to understand what was meant by connecting the ecosystem, and then you've got the aim to grow sustainable cultural and creative structures that join the dots. And in your explanation, you mentioned grassroots, and then it made sense. So I'm just wondering if you could just perhaps reconsider the wording on that and bring the word grassroots, because I think it will make sense to those reading it. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Farr.
Yeah, just a couple of comments really, Chair.
Thank you, Ruth. A couple of comments, Chair. It's been a fascinating ride, and the resident survey underlined that Exeter is performing higher than the LGA national polling average, with 79% showing satisfaction with museum and other visitor attractions, through to 50% of people experiencing no barriers. What I'm hoping is that the action plan will be addressing the 50% who do think they experience barriers or have problems with cost, or the 20% that are not satisfied with the museum and other visitor attractions. Because we've got a strategy, a vision, but in a sense that they're words. The most important thing will be the action plan that comes out of it. And I hope that the action plan will address those people. And I think we've identified young people. We've identified individual artists and creative practitioners. We've identified ethnic minorities. Cost being an issue for some people, determining what we actually mean by culture, and then looking at how things are run. And are the trustees of the RAM and of the Phoenix representative of those people that I mentioned? I should watch with interest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Ian, a few questions there for you to sum up on, possibly.
Thank you, Chair. Absolutely, we'll be wanting to reach out to all of our sort of sectors, really. In the survey, there are questions around that, but we'll be using our colleagues, our engagement colleagues, on that to make sure that we do reach out. And actually, on that, your second question, Councillor Gladden, that was a brilliant question because I've struggled with that as well. Sorry, it was Councillor Wright, wasn't it? Your question about it was Councillor Wood. Sorry, too many questions. The question about we're having two surveys at the same time. So I've struggled with that as well, because on the one hand, we want to try and bring these strategies together because they do literally talk to each other and support each other. But at the same time, the point you made about consultation fatigue. So I think we've come up with a way around that. So there'll be a landing page. So when you go in and you click on the link, you'll go to a landing page, and then you can choose which survey you want to fill out, and then you can go back to that landing page, and if you want to, do the other one. So you kind of will be given a choice, so you can't miss one. You'll go to a landing page, and it'll all be there, and then each link will then take you to the specific strategy. So I think that'll work. I hope it does. And that's the advice that we've been getting. That's the best way of approaching it. In terms of the connected culture thing, that was Councillor Wright's question. So all of the theme groups that currently operate as part of the Exeter Partnership come from the main partnership. So part of the journey that we've been on in the Exeter Partnership over the last 18 months or so is to sort of give back some of that responsibility to the partnership to select and choose groups and individuals and organisations who it wants to form part of the body of the partnership, and then to ask those organisations and those individuals to populate and support the working group. So it's kind of come from that place. We haven't, the City Council hasn't selected these people. They've self-selected from the main partnership. And what we then do, our offer as a City Council, is support those groups. So they meet 4 times a year, and we support those meetings. But it's very much then what happens is up to the groups really, and then they feed back to the main partnership. So there's always opportunities to invite more people. Some people leave, or they move around the groups as well. So the groups, we're trying to get a process whereby the groups all talk to each other as well. So there's that kind of synergy. So it's literally something that is comes from the main partnership, and they're all volunteers, so they're giving up their time. It's not something that we impose, but we do provide that, if you like, that kind of secretariat support. And then I think that was a great suggestion from Councillor Williams. It does say in the blurb, if you like, underneath the connecting the ecosystem is about grassroots. I think we'll change that. I think we'll say connecting to grassroots, and that's a brilliant suggestion.
Okay, thank you. So I'll now come to the leaders. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director. Page 39, my same request, please. If you could do the same on page 39, that would be great. And I do just have a quick question that I want to ask for clarification. On page 39, regarding gender reassignment and race, you say links to the public consultation will be sent to VCSE groups supporting this protected characteristic, as I would expect to do. That's brilliant. But I have noticed on page 40, it doesn't have that line under sexual orientation. So can you just, I'm fairly confident that you will reach out to the voluntary groups that support that characteristic. Can you just confirm that that's just a typo and that will be added? Thank you. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. Any other leader wish to come in? No? I feel sure. I'll answer for you, Ian, but I feel sure we'll tidy all that up, won't we? Yeah. Okay, so if that is the case, then that will be done, Councillor. So we've got the 2 recommendations here. I'm going to move them from the chair. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Wright. All those in favour of the 2 recommendations, please show.
That's unanimous, Chair. These have been carried.
So it's good to end on the municipal year with a unanimous one. That's what we started. So just before we finish, a couple of things. If you give me a bit of latitude to say, there's the last executive of the municipal year. I want to go around the table and thank Councillor Bob Fong for his contributions. Bob, you've been a portfolio for a number of issues, finance, planning, democratic services, and of course, culture. Thank you for your work and support. And I know what you've done, and I know you're standing down. So obviously, thank you for your time. Moving around, Councillor Williams, although not standing down at the end of the year, to thank you for the work you've done and explaining to me the harbour revision order and many things like that, which is obviously a mastermind subject, and I would encourage you to go on to mastermind to talk about that. Thank you. Councillor Duncan Wood, thank you for the work that you've done. You've done the climate change, back to your home of the leisure. Thank you for all the work you're doing on that and done on that. So thank you very much indeed. Councillor Marina Asvashin, thank you for your work and support. dealing with the homelessness and our housing HRA. It's very, very important. And of course, I think it's going well with the consultation, how we deal with the residents is very good there. Councillor Patrick, thank you for stepping in and supporting the executive with city development. And it's good to have people who have real jobs as well, by the way, nothing against the other people, which is so important to have a cross section, and to balance those roles is very, very important. And unlike me, saddos like you, who've got nothing else better to do than to deal with this all day long, it's important you have a job, and you do it very well. Councillor Matt Vizard, thank you for coming on to the executive a couple of years ago and what you're doing with the climate and communities. It's very much appreciated. You've been an excellent portfolio owner and local councillor, and I really do wish you all the very well. Councillor Wright, my deputy leader, keeping me in line, doing what you're doing with the city centre strategy and a lot of what you're doing with the police advocacy. It is noticed and recognised. Thank you for your support as a deputy leader, and also for me personally, and putting me right on things and explaining things to me, because whereas I make out I know everything, here's a secret, I don't. And Laura helps me. So thank you to you all, much success to you all, and of course to all the other candidates during the election. I want to see you. And finally, well, not quite finally, I'd like to thank the directors as well, the chief executive and all the other directors of SNV. It's been good guidance and hard work. I know we're hard work, but I suppose that's what we need to be sometimes. Much appreciated the work that you've done contributing to keep this council going in a positive way forward. I thank you very much. And on the legalese, Simon, thank you for keeping us all right on what we need to do. Finally, this is the final one. Mark, you're leaving us. Okay, I'm not taking it personal, but thank you very much. You've had a good career so far here at the council. You started off within the democratic services as I won't say junior officer, because I suppose that's wrong to say a junior officer, but as an officer, you've worked through it. You've reached good things, and I think you're moving on to something that you want to do now, very importantly. And hopefully, the orbit of the Exeter new authority, if ever we get it, you'll be sucked back in. It's a bit like a black hole. I can say you're going to Exmouth, Warren?
Absolutely.
Yes, he's going to work at Exmouth Town Council. So the City Council, as it is now, is a bit like a black hole, sucking things in. So we'll suck you back in again in another form. But I feel sure your expertise on how you run committees will be greatly appreciated to the Exmouth Town Council. Wish you all the very best, and you've been very good, and I feel sure you've supported all councillors equally across the board. So that's all from me. Best of luck to everybody. Councillor Basham.
Can I just check that Mark minuted that Phil said he doesn't know everything?
We'll make sure that's in minutes one way or another. But thank you all very, very much. It's our time coming, and I think if we, all political parties, work as we've always done in Exeter, I think it will be a good election. People have their say, and Exeter will go forward stronger and better for whatever happens. Let's hope that happens. And best of luck to everybody. Thank you very much indeed.